This show is a little bit different. This show is about my transition from being a public school teacher to a nationally touring comedian. And lots of people always ask, how did it happen? I graduated in 2005. I started doing stand-up while in college. In 2010, I had the amazing opportunity to walk away from a teaching career, but it wasn't an easy decision. I walked away from a career that had guaranteed salary, had guaranteed retirement, had insurance. And what most people don't know, comedians are sensitive. I will get depressed. And back then, there was no Obamacare, or as I like to call it, other people paying for my issues. Yeah. I would get sad, and I didn't have the money to buy the things to make me feel good like normal people could. I didn't have money for Zoloft or Prozac or tequila. I didn't have that. I had to come up with something that was free and cheap to make me feel good about Lucas. What I came up with was something I like to call Walmart therapy. You can use this too. Anytime I was sad, I would go to the Walmart around 2 to 2:30 in the morning because that's when the monsters come out. Yup. And I would walk up and down the aisles and I would look at people, and slowly I would start to feel good about me. I'd be like, you know what, buddy? You might not have a lot of money, but you got 2 matching shoes and all your teeth. You're doing all right. I would take photos of people at Walmart, keep it in my phone. If I was ever sad, rip my phone out, feel good. I love this photo. It makes me feel good every time I see it. Just bang! That's what I'm talking about right there. I love it, because even the M&M guy is shocked. He's like, we melt in your mouth, not in your butt. No. I'm not saying dumb people shop at Walmart. I'm not saying that. I did see this vehicle parked outside of a Walmart in Florida. My kid done graduated today. Oh, no. The Y is backwards. The E is all messed up. I'm like, thank goodness one of y'all graduated. Now, when I started my professional career, I was an elementary school teacher. I had a master's in educational technology, got my first job, walked into the classroom. Hanging on the wall was this, at the time, brand new invention they called a smart board. Clap if you know what a smart board or a Promethean is. If you don't know, a smart board's like a huge iPad. You can write on it with your finger. Standard smart board comes with 130,000 educational videos. 130,000. Yeah, let me take you back. Adults, do you remember our video experience when we were in elementary school? They would roll in that one rickety AV cart with the TV duct tape to the top. And we would get that warm, fuzzy feeling in our tummies like, oh, we ain't learning nothing today. We didn't have 130,000 videos. We had one. And we watched it over and over. I'll prove it. Finish the song. Conjunction, junction. Look at all the people like under 28. They're like, what the heck is that? What is that? Is that like a cult or something? I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. You can't make me. I want to hear Bill Nye. That's my jam. Smartboard is an amazing piece of technology, okay? The last year I was a 5th grade teacher, we did a Skype experiment with our smartboard. We did the same experiment as a 5th grade class in China to see if the results would be different on opposite sides of the earth. Advanced technology. Let me take you back. Adults, do you remember our advanced technology? When we were in elementary school, you'd go to your best friend, Jimmy. He'd pull out that paper diamond thing and say, pick a color. Green, G-R-A-A-N. What's it say? You're a jerk. I taught public school for 6 years. Now, during that time, I was doing stand-up on the nights, weekends, and summers. People would always ask me, where do you get your influences? Or how do you write jokes? I was around 10 and 11-year-olds for 8 hours a day. I got a lot of my humor from the kids. And here's the thing, they all knew that I was a stand-up. Sometimes they would play little games. They would try to do things to see if it would make me laugh. Can we make the teacher comedian laugh? Sometimes they would write inappropriate or wrong things down on quizzes. I'd take a photo of it. I'd text it to a cute first grade teacher. She did the same thing back from her first grade class. Now look, these next examples of student work are wrong, but technically, if you have a sense of humor like I did, they're not wrong. From first grade, cause and effect. Cause, Dan practices the trumpet 30 minutes every day. Effect, he is a big nerd. That's not the answer we were going for. But he's not wrong. Also from first grade, cause and effect. Cause, Jane has 3 pet cats. Effect, she will die alone. My wife does a very common activity in first grade. It's called the 100th day of school activity. She took this photo and sent it to me, and I was like, this is hysterical. Here we go, 100th day of school. This is what I look like today. Aw, cute little kid. I am 5 years old. This is what I will look like in 100 years. This is what a 5-year-old drew. In 100 years, I will be dead. Okay, yeah. It's not wrong. Not what we were going for, but not wrong. I love young children. My wife had some of the funniest kids in her class. They do a very common activity in first grade on economics. Basically, how do we earn money? She assigns a very common activity in first grade. The students have to go home and over the weekend do a chore to earn money. They then have to write a 1-sentence description describing how they earned money at home. Frankie had perhaps the greatest response to this activity. He said, Frankie, I earn money at home by, he says, I don't, I'm a freeloader. And look at all the old white Republicans. They're like, he's a Democrat. You learn a lot about kids just based on the work they turn in. I've never met this kid that was in my wife's first grade class a couple years ago. I know things about him, though, based on the work. I know that he's probably a NASCAR fan. He probably has a rat tail haircut, and he probably lives in a double wide, all based off this one worksheet. Word recognition. Green frog, blue lake, red solo cup. That's a redneck right there, ladies and gentlemen. We do an activity in elementary school starting in first grade where in order to learn new vocabulary words, the child is given a word, they highlight the word, and then they use the word in a sentence or they write a description that can accurately describe their understanding of the definition of the word. And then they have to draw a picture also defining or describing the word. Sometimes kids use their knowledge of the teachers to do such activities, and it can ruin your life, like Miss King discovered. Miss King is single. How do you know? That means she does not have a man. What's your picture look like? No man, right there. No man, no man. Oh, you can just see Miss King crying as she just marks a curtain check. Where are my 3 cats? Sometimes kids know more than what we think they know as parents and as teachers, okay? Like this next child is obviously doing word work. He's having to come up with clusters. And I tell you what, if this kid was in my class, I would have given him a high five and bonus, probably candy too, because you can tell he's smart and he's well behaved too. Here we go. Write as many words with the same pattern. Uck. Don't get ahead of me. Truck, luck, buck, duck, muck, tuck, F word. Nice! Yes! 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 Bonus points! Bonus points! He's like, hey, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about? You know, it's right too, but I didn't say it, because you know what I'm saying? You can't say that word, but I know it. I get bonus points, right? Because I know it. I know it's right. I know it's right. You know what the F word is. Come on now. You know it's right. Everything was going great. I had my blinders on. I was teaching during the day. I was doing stand-up on the nights, weekends, and summers. Then life threw a curveball at me. The curveball that life threw at me was the first grade teacher. And there she is. I know, right? She's adorable. And my wife is an amazing human being. We met at the school that we taught at, Rolling Ridge Elementary. She was the first grade teacher. I was the fifth grade teacher. It was adorable. My wife is an amazing. She has a degree in elementary ed and a master's degree in special education, and then a gifted endorsement, okay? She is now a special ed teacher in first grade, which is fantastic, because we get along great. Yeah, so she goes to school, and all of her kids have behavior charts, and then she comes home, and her husband has a behavior chart. I started hanging around young kids. I'd never hung around young kids before. I've always only taught like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. Young kids are hysterical. They're literal. Ask a young child an honest or literal question. They're unabashed. They'll give you an honest answer. Right around the age of 9 or 10, I think kids start to develop a sense of humor. They can read between the lines. They understand sarcasm, overgeneralizations. These are all elements of comedy. Okay. I asked my daughter, I said, honey, let me ask you a question. What is love? A very literal question. What is love? She looked me dead in my face and was like, ice cream. So that's the same thing your mother said. All right. Now, I think sometimes kids don't know they're being literal, and it's funny, but I think sometimes kids do know, and they read a question, and they decide to be very literal about it, like this next student did. It said, what event ended in 1814? He wrote 1813. Now, listen! Hey, you know that's not what they were asking. Same kid, math class, units of measurements to convert milliliters to liters. He wrote, take out milli. Now listen, there are people that are from like an hour south of here that are like, well, he ain't wrong, brother. He ain't wrong right there. Look at that right there. You just get a pencil, you cross that milli, bang, liters, you done it right there. Hey. Same kid goes on to middle school, American history. Where was the American Declaration of Independence signed? He wrote, at the bottom. Now listen, I'm telling you what. Last but not least, he goes on to high school, biomes, where animals and organisms live. It says, name 6 organisms that live in a jungle ecosystem. He wrote 5 monkeys and 1 Tarzan. Now listen. Sometimes kids don't know they're being silly. They don't know. They're too naive. Okay, this next child in my wife's first grade class, she teaches a unit on geometry, 2-dimensional shapes. And again, this child didn't know she was being literal, but it ended up being hysterical. Geometry, name these 2D shapes. She wrote Jade, Charlotte, Charlie, Sophia, Harriet, Emily, Maria. Explain it to your neighbors. They might not get it. It says, name these 2D shapes. She was like, calm down, I got friends, don't worry. That rectangle is Charlie. His name is Charlie. And kids have great advice. They have great advice. My favorite year that I ever taught, I was a 5th grade teacher for writing. I taught all of the writing for 5th grade. I didn't teach any other subject. And it was my favorite because I was doing a lot of writing for stand-up, and it worked out great. However, this next activity, we were doing a graphic organizer called a Foursquare. And a graphic organizer is simply a roadmap to an essay. This child, 10 years old, was trying to teach the reader how to do something. He's trying to teach the reader how to pick up a chick. Already, I am intrigued. First thing he says, first talk to her, ask her for her name. Solid start, solid. Next, make sure she is not my cousin. No, no. Time out. That should be first. You open with, are we related? No, great, what's your name? I started doing stand-up in 2010. I was touring a lot. I left teaching. I was touring a lot. So I listened to an audiobook once by a very famous comedian, Rodney Dangerfield, and he said, in order to keep your mind sharp, you should always be looking for comedic things. Comedy is all around you. You have to have your comedy receptors open. Some of the ways I do this is I try to find funny signs when I tour. Here are some of my favorite funny signs. From Little Rock, Arkansas, Walgreens, here we go. We have all your back-to-school supplies. 12-pack Miller, $7.99. Yes, sir. You will graduate with a 4.0 blood alcohol level. Yes, you will. Now, this next sign is in poor taste, I will tell you. It's in poor taste. Some of you will not appreciate this sign. Some of you will wait till you drop Nana or Pop off at the nursing home later on tonight to giggle in your car. Actual sign outside of Chicago. Here we go. Senior Citizen Center. I don't care. That's funny right there. I don't care. Some of y'all are like, oh, no. 90% of comedy is timing. Timing is 90% of comedy. Okay? I did a church fundraiser and went for a run. I came across this telephone pole. I honestly believe that these two signs had nothing to do with each other, but just based on their placement, it made for a hysterical event, okay? Here we go. Here is the telephone pole. First sign says, parrot lost, banded, reward. Oh no, someone lost a pet parrot, but that's okay. It's banded and there's a reward. Directly below that sign was this sign. Parrot barbecue, Saturday, 12 to whenever, come early, supply is limited. Yeah, I bet you only got one dang parrot. I bet it's banded too. Signs have an amazing way to make me feel happy about life. I saw this sign immediately. I started having a better day and I knew what I was having for lunch. Taco emergency. Called 911. That's funny. That's funny in 2 languages. Explain it to your neighbor. Explain it. We recently moved to New York City, and we have a great area. Here's the thing. We were buying supplies for our new apartment, hangers and nails, and I cut through the plumbing section of Home Depot, and I saw this sign, and I had to stop and take a photo. And here it is. It said, ask an associate for a demonstration. Really? Is that overtime? I don't know. I tried to find someone. I was like, I will let you borrow my phone if it makes it easier. I don't know. I like to use my phone. I just want to make sure it works. If you saw my first special here with Dry Bar Comedy, you know that my wife and I decided to start a family a couple years ago, and I ran into infertility issues. And so we decided to adopt a baby. 3 years ago, my wife and I flew to Kenya, Africa, and we adopted our very own baby, Ella. And she's absolutely awesome, yeah! Yeah. It's mind-boggling. It is. This girl is spunky. She has a sense of humor. The other day, I spent 3 hours looking for my daughter's pink boots. When my wife came home, I said, honey, I'm sorry. Ella said she couldn't find her pink boots. I looked for like 3 hours. I can't find them. I can't find her pink boots. My wife looked at me and goes, she doesn't have pink boots. She has red boots. I went to Ella. I went, Ella! Mommy says you don't have pink boots, you have red boots. And she goes, yeah, I have red boots. But I want pink boots. And I thought if you looked for them, maybe you'd find them. She's amazing. I wouldn't be on this stage if it wasn't for the love and support of one very specific person. That would be my Nana. My Nana always encouraged me to act out and to be funny. We would watch a very important show together late at night called The Lawrence Welk Show, okay? And one old person's like, finally some quality entertainment. And I loved the way my grandparents would react when the comedians came out. They would sit up in their easy boy chair a little higher. They'd lean forward. I loved the way they laughed. Okay, I will tell you this. This is my beautiful Nana. That is Elena. That's my brother Drew with my pop, and that is me in the tree. I was an odd child. I was odd. December is a very rough time for my family. 7 years ago, this past December, we lost my Nana. Yeah, like she didn't die or nothing. She just walked off in a mall in Florida. We can't find her anywhere. Yeah. That's a joke. We know where she is. She is in a retirement community in Clearwater, Florida. She's 97 years old, legally blind, doesn't care, drives every day of her life and refuses to use a blinker. I'm like, Nana, why won't you use a blinker? She's like, I don't know where where the heck I'm going. Why should anybody else? The greatest gift I ever gave my parents was the ability to become grandparents. That is the first time they met Ella, and I got news for you people. I thought I was important to my parents. And then Ella came, and you learn really quickly how unimportant you are. And these were two very strict people, just very strict. They were school teachers. They were strict. We had bedtimes and nutritious food, and it was ridiculous. And the minute they became grandparents, two things happened. All of a sudden, they became fun, and apparently, there was money to be had. Yeah, they just found it. They were like, oh, look at this, yay! We've been saving it for just this occasion. My mom was like, I can't wait to take Ella to Disney World. I'm like, Mom, I've never been to Disney World. What the heck? They absolutely spoil her. They love her to death, okay? And they're her friend. I tell you, grandparents are like friends that have money to grandkids. That's what they are. Like, I came home from a red eye from the West Coast, and I walked in the apartment, 6:40 in the morning. My father is sitting in a bathrobe at the kitchen table. Ella is sitting at the table, stripped down to her diaper. In front of Ella at 6:40 a.m. in the morning is what I can only describe as the largest piece of New York chocolate cheesecake I have ever seen in my life. And she is shoveling it into her face as happily as can be. And I lost my mind. I said, Jeff, what are you doing? You can't give a baby cheesecake at 6:40 in the morning. He's like, you can if she's not your kid. And then he high-fived her and was like, I'm leaving you everything in the will just to piss him off. Guys, my name is Lucas Bohn. You guys have been absolutely great. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good night. This is comedian Lucas Bohn. Thank you so much for just watching my most recent special, Lesson Plans to Late Night. If you enjoyed my performance, now's the opportunity for you to leave a tip. How much of a tip is acceptable? Any amount you feel is good. $1 or $10. But look at this photo right here. This is my daughter, Ella. Why is she so sad? Because you didn't leave a tip. Do you know 1 out of 1 Ellas in my household does not have enough money to buy a toy at the Walmart? For just $1 a day, $30 a month, I will take this little girl to Walmart and let her buy any toy. You can sponsor a toy for her by leaving a tip. This baby needs toys. Thanks for watching my special. Hope you leave a tip.